and welcome to St. Lucia Magazine, your weekly roundup of the nation's top stories in education, the economy, infrastructure, agriculture, and more. I am your host, Kishma Serrier. In this edition, St. Lucia's general election is here, and the handover ceremony marks the completion of the construction of the St. Jude's Hospital. To begin this recap, Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre has announced the upcoming date for national elections. Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre delivered a national address on November 9th. He compared the nation's condition when the St. Lucia Labour Party demitted office in 2016 to the situation his administration inherited in 2021.
Ladies and gentlemen, in July 2021, our economy was in decline. Allow me to illustrate the state of our national debt when the St. Lucia Labour Party lost the 2016 elections and returned in 2021. The Economic and Social Review 2024, Table 46, page 141, outlines the national debt of St. Lucia and other outstanding payables. In 2016, when the United Workers' Party were elected into office, the national debt was 60.9% of GDP. Outstanding payables due to local suppliers was 22.9 million. In 2021, under the United Workers' Party government, even with a rebased GDP, the national debt was 81.9%, an increase of 20% under the United Workers' Party government. Outstanding payables due to local suppliers escalated to 130.5 million, an increase of 469% over 2016.
The Prime Minister also outlined the government's major accomplishments during its time in office.
In 2024, under the SLP government, the national debt is 73.5%, a reduction of 8% from 2021. Outstanding payables due to local suppliers, 79%, a reduction of 39%. And as of September 2025, outstanding payables is 38.9 million, a 700% reduction from 2021 under SLP administration. Ladies and gentlemen, these statistics clearly show the level of debt inherited by the St. Lucia Labour Party government and the progress made thus far. Together, we built an economy that was in decline. We have experienced economic growth and primary surpluses. Unemployment is at its lowest on record. And youth unemployment, although not an acceptable level, is declining.
At the end of his address, the Prime Minister revealed a highly anticipated date for the upcoming general election. Although the electoral timeline runs until November of 2026, Prime Minister Pierre has announced that the polling day will be December 1st, 2025.
Confident that we have delivered what we had promised, and the need to carry on with the normal business of government. Today, I advise the Governor General to dissolve the Parliament of St. Lucia tomorrow, Monday, 10th November 2025, and to issue writs of elections to pave the way for the general election. The general election will be held on Monday, 1st December 2025. Nomination day will be Friday, 21st November 2025. I thank you.
In a pivotal moment, the government of St. Lucia has marked the completion of the reconstruction of St. Jude's Hospital, 16 years following its destruction by fire. We have more details in this report.
Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre's people-focused policies were evident during the official handover ceremony of St. Jude Hospital in Vieux Fort. The November 16th handover follows the completion of construction of the facility, confirming that contractual obligations were met by the builder. The Minister for Health, Honorable Moses Baptiste, addressed the ceremonial gathering, first acknowledging the hardworking staff of the St. Jude Hospital and the community members who risked their lives to save patients from the September 2009 fire. He also thanked Prime Minister Pierre for government's commitment to the improvement of healthcare in St. Lucia.
I am happy with what the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, has committed to the improvement of healthcare in St. Lucia. It is not just a proud moment for me and for this government and for the Prime Minister, but it is an example of how focused government can work when we decide that we are going to do something positive. It does not matter the obstacle.
Prime Minister Pierre stressed the government's commitment to serving the nation, protecting people, and saving lives.
This new St. Jude Hospital is not just a building. It's a promise fulfilled. It's a modern, safe, and equipped to serve the needs of a growing nation. It doubles the capacity of the old facility, includes new surgical theaters, and improved pediatric care, and provides the kind of infrastructure that tells every patient who walks through its doors, you matter. But beyond the bricks and technology, what stands before us is a symbol of what happens when government puts people first. Let this day remind us that government is at its best when it listens, when it serves, and when it keeps its word.
The handover will pave the way for the commissioning of St. Jude Hospital. Commissioning ensures that procedures, equipment, and systems are in place for the treatment of patients. For the Government Information Service, I am Petula Olibert.
The Tourism Minister reports record investment and growth in St. Lucia's tourism sector. Nival Ogis tells us more.
Minister for Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information, Honorable Dr. Ernest Hille, has reported record levels of private investment and sustained growth within St. Lucia's tourism industry and wider economy. Delivering a national address, Minister Hille outlined key achievements in investment, employment, and sectoral development since 2021. He noted that the government's focus on maintaining fiscal stability and stimulating private sector activity has produced positive results across the economy.
Following a 3.3% GDP growth in 2023, we experienced another year of growth, with GDP rising 4.7% last year. This government has also reduced the public debt to GDP ratio from over 90% to roughly 74% in 2024, an extraordinary achievement in a volatile global economy.
According to the minister, the tourism sector continues to drive much of the island's economic recovery. Between 2021 and October 2025, total investment in the sector reached $7.4 billion, generating employment for approximately 23,000 St. Lucians.
St. Lucia has not only recovered, but now surpassed pre-COVID levels. We have modernized our legislative and incentives framework, providing greater impetus for economic growth.
The accommodation sector accounted for approximately 80.7% of tourism investment, while 20.8% went towards land-based transportation. Local investors represented the majority of participation, accounting for 78.8% of the total investment. Minister Hille highlighted the growth of small and medium enterprises through the Community Tourism Agency, which has disbursed 25 loan grants totaling $3.4 million to entrepreneurs in accommodation, food and beverage, and recreation subsectors. 10 additional projects valued at $1.7 million are pending implementation. From the Government Information Service, I am Nival Ogis.
And still to come, the St. Lucia Taiwan Trade Show ends and an update on the centralized Community Safety Center.
We are 758. Creative, resourceful, resilient. We have been through it all. Pandemics, hurricanes, global and local crisis. Yet, we stand tall, a proud people. We support each other, embracing what is ours, what is truly St. Lucian. Support our local entrepreneurs, their products and services. Shop smart. Shop local. Love St. Lucia.
Welcome back. St. Lucia's modern police holding facility, the Centralized Community Safety Center in Castries, has restored the capital's detention capacity 5 years after the demolition of the original structure. We have more in this update.
On May 23, 2025, Prime Minister and Minister for National Security, Philip J. Pierre, presided over the official reopening of what is now called the Centralized Community Safety Center in Castries, formally restoring the detention capacity that was lost when both the original custody suites and Royal Gould were demolished in 2020. The new facility includes 8 modern holding cells and is designed to serve as a centralized and secure location for detaining individuals awaiting legal proceedings. Officer in charge of the facility, Inspector Nigel Jawaher, emphasizes that this will help to reduce the strain on police stations across St. Lucia, which had been dealing with overcrowding and logistical difficulties ever since Castries lost its only secure facility to detain persons.
Police officers have faced serious challenges in housing detainees. Police officers, when someone is arrested, they have to go all over the place, to include Richfond, as far as Dennery, sometimes even Soufre, Grosile, Babono, to house prisoners. And this is and was discouraging and frustrating for our police officers. Because when you make an arrest, sometimes they would call the station, and sometimes the person at the station would even tell them, because of overcrowding, they don't have space to put those detainees.
The government says the new center meets international standards for the humane and dignified treatment of detainees. In addition, the new police holding facility has not only raised the morale of officers, but also eased the pressures of dealing with detained persons in a piecemeal and inefficient manner.
However, with this new facility, which was built and opened in May 2025, it sparked a passion and enthusiasm with the officers, because they have a place to house their prisoner. And not only house, they have a place to deal with their prisoner. So the place is close to Castries. The officers would deal with their prisoners, work within Castries, so they can come, they can read the prisoners their rights as a prisoner in custody, they can deal with their prisoner, they can even bring their prisoner to court via Zoom platform.
The Centralized Community Safety Center, formerly known as Custody Suites, is designed with several features that modernize how detainees are processed while providing better working conditions for the police.
We look at it as a punitive justice area, but rehabilitation, where when persons come to the facility, detainees, we give them pep talk so we can encourage them not to continue on that bad way. Because we understand that even though persons are innocent until proven guilty, innocent persons sometimes even need, or law-abiding citizens even need pep talk sometimes in their life. So we also do or encourage persons so they don't need, or we don't want them to return to the center.
In addition to the increased detention capacity, with the rebuilding of the Centralized Community Safety Center, the government has further invested in the procurement of bulletproof vests, specialized law enforcement equipment, and a prison escort vehicle to improve the safe transport of detained persons, all in an effort to strengthen public confidence in the island's policing and justice systems.
The St. Lucia Taiwan Trade Show marks 18 years of partnership and progress. Here's Nivalo Geese once again with more info.
The 18th annual St. Lucian Taiwan Partnership Trade Show opened on Friday, November 7th at the Pavilion, celebrating nearly 2 decades of innovation, resilience, and economic cooperation under the theme Securing Tomorrow, powered by sustainability, built on resilience. The 3-day showcase featured over 90 exhibitors, 65 from St. Lucia and 25 from Taiwan, highlighting products across technology, manufacturing, agriculture, and creative industries. The Minister for Commerce, Honorable Emma Hippolyte, said the partnership remains a model of mutual growth and trust.
For 18 years, almost a generation, as you heard from our peers, this nexus between St. Lucia and Taiwan has stood as a shining example of a partnership built on trust, mutual respect, consistency, and shared success. Together, we have not only exchanged products, services, and ideas, but strengthened the bridge of friendship between our peoples, creating opportunities that have enriched our economies and deepened our cultural ties.
Taiwan's ambassador to St. Lucia, Her Excellency Nicole Su, praised local creativity and the strengthening of economic collaboration.
More than 100 companies applied to participate, and the most competitive 65s are here with us today. This clearly exemplifies the ambition of St. Lucian's entrepreneurs. And these companies are not here only to display and sell the very best of their products or to demonstrate their creativity or innovation. Furthermore, they're here to grasp this opportunity to use this platform to explore the trade and partnership together with all of us.
Ambassador Su also introduced new attractions, including a culinary competition led by Chef Orlando and a happy hour networking session designed to build business connections. Acting Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Ernest Tilley emphasized that Taiwan's example of innovation and resilience continues to inspire St. Lucia's development goals.
I think we should also recognize that Taiwan has demonstrated to the world the capability they have and the right for them to exist as a full sovereign nation in our global environment. Taiwan has shown, thank you, Taiwan has shown that it has a capacity to overcome the challenges that lie before them, but also to be innovative and to be able to create one of the highest standards of living for any nation on this earth. And I think we need to recognize and to respect the contribution that Taiwan continues to make to our international system and to global civilization. And St. Lucia is very proud of the contribution that Taiwan makes.
The ceremony featured cultural performances by the Helen folk dancers and a theatrical presentation blending humor, culture, and history to celebrate 18 years of partnership. From the Government Information Service, I am Nival Auguste.
Coming up next, a major boost for the St. Lucia Fire Service, and St. Lucia's healthcare workers enhance their skill set.
Are you registered to vote? Do you have an ID card? The registration drive of the Electoral Department continues at its sub-offices located in Denry North, Charlie's Rooftop Building on the Richford Highway, Church Street, Soufrière, in the building next to Wasco. Opening hours for the centers 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The public is asked to take advantage of our mobile registration services at Moshi Human Resource Center and Grosile in August, Miku North and South in September, which will be available weekdays, Monday to Friday, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Welcome back. The St. Lucia Fire Service has received a major boost, with over $36 million invested in new appliances, ambulances, and upgraded stations to improve emergency responses across the island. We bring you more details.
For years, firefighters across St. Lucia faced the same challenges: outdated firefighting equipment, unreliable ambulances, and insufficiently trained personnel to meet the island's growing emergency demands. Ditney Downs is the Chief Fire Officer.
It has been very challenging, and the situation in St. Lucia, as we speak in terms of emergency responses, have been increasing on a daily basis. So we're on track this year to respond to 16,000 ambulance calls. The ambulances we had before, most of them were almost 19 years old. Now, 15,000 ambulance calls in a year. That's a lot of movements. And you have these ambulances at that age. Now just juxtapose that to the minibuses. No minibus lasts so long. So it was a very challenging period for the fire department, but fire officers are very resilient, and we are very committed to what we do. We understand our job and the importance of our job to society.
But that picture is changing. Since taking office, Prime Minister Honorable Philip G. Pierre's administration has pumped more than 26 million Eastern Caribbean dollars into upgrading the St. Lucia Fire Service, a figure that later grew to 36 million with additional purchases and development loans.
So in that loan, we have funding for 5 ambulances, 5 ambulances, 2 an additional aircraft firefighting appliance. So for the very first time in the history of St. Lucia, Iwanero International Airport will have 4 aircraft firefighting appliances. For the very first time. And George Charles, we just had a handing over of 2. That is apart from the Caribbean development, the $40 million loan. These 2 appliances I was just handed over was from local revenue, from my budget, right? So one was the aircraft appliance was assigned to George Charles. So currently George Charles has 2 aircraft firefighting appliances. That have never happened in the history of George Charles. What these 2 appliances will do is to allow George Charles now to accommodate bigger aircrafts. Okay, so with just the adjustment in manpower and these little things, but in terms of coverage, they could accommodate bigger aircrafts. All right. So we'll have an additional aircraft fire appliance for Iwanero. So in case one break down, it will not affect the category of the airport. Okay. So that loan covers this additional aircraft appliance and 5 domestic trucks. So every station around the country will get a new domestic truck.
In October 2024, 4 brand new ambulances were delivered to stations in Castries, Gros-Islet, Micoud, and V4, dramatically improving emergency medical response times. Then in July 2025, 2 state-of-the-art fire appliances, including an airport crash tender, joined the fleet, bolstering St. Lucia's aviation and structural fire capacity. The fire service also welcomed 52 new recruits earlier this year, the first major intake in several years, as part of a broader plan to rebuild manpower and morale. Additionally, the issue of accommodation is also being addressed against an increasingly diversified workforce.
The past 3 years, we've gotten a significant sum to refurbish and upkeep fire stations. So, as we speak, every fire station in St. Lucia have gotten the attention that it deserves. Every one of them have been refurbished. New appliances, new furniture. I'm talking about appliances. New furniture have been purchased. So every single one, including we're able to get funding to do an extension at Soufre Fire Station. So if you pass that fire station, you'll see an extension on that station that basically will accommodate a training room and female quarters. Most of our fire stations around the island, unfortunately, were not designed to accommodate so many females. So we have to now figure out how we provide accommodation for them. So the increasing our budget for upkeep of stations have basically assisted us in trying to do that.
The multi-million-dollar investment in the St. Lucia Fire Service is supported by financing from the Caribbean Development Bank, and officials say while staffing and station upgrades remain ongoing, the improvements already mean faster response times and greater readiness in times of crisis.
In an effort to strengthen the fight against diabetes, a regional workshop was held with the aim to equip health workers with greater tools and capacity. Onika McCoy has the details.
Healthcare professionals across St. Lucia are participating in a 4-day specialized training workshop focused on enhancing the management and treatment of diabetes in primary care. The initiative brings together medical practitioners directly involved in diabetes management, including primary care physicians, nurse practitioners, nutritionists, dietitians, pharmacists, community nurses, and home health aides for hands-on training in the application of the CARFA guidelines for the management of diabetes in primary care in the Caribbean and the Diabetes Nutritional Management Toolkit. This workshop is part of a regional effort led by the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARFA, in collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, under the subsidiary agreement titled Strengthening Public Health Capacities in the Caribbean Subregion. Through this partnership, CARFA is providing country-specific guidance and capacity-building support to its member states to promote standardized, evidence-based diabetes care. In his remarks, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Ernest Nobal, emphasized that the CARFA Training of Trainers workshop in diabetes management is timely and aligns perfectly with Diabetes Awareness Month.
This training aligns well with this year's theme, Diabetes and Wellness, and places focus on the team approach in ensuring that all persons living with diabetes have access to holistic care, which is provided by adequately trained caregivers and health practitioners. This approach to capacity building, which includes a multidisciplinary team across sectors, is indeed commendable and goes a long way in strengthening and standardizing the care that persons living with diabetes will inevitably lead to better health outcomes, a goal that we all work towards.
Dr. Heather Armstrong, head of the Chronic Disease and Injury Department at CARFA, explained that the workshop aims to ensure that healthcare providers are well trained in the use of CARFA guidelines and protocols and will be empowered to help clients improve their health outcomes.
The idea is that we want to have healthcare providers who are well trained, but also have the ability to help to empower their clients so that you have productive interactions that occur on a daily basis as we meet with our clients, because we want to have a patient-centered approach where we look at the context of the client. We're not just giving recommendations on how to manage the diabetes or high blood pressure, but rather how does this person improve their outcomes based on their situation, utilizing the protocols from the guidelines.
Family nurse practitioner Alexandra Gemot, a participant in the workshop, noted that the training was a valuable refresher that reinforced best practices and better equipped health professionals and caregivers to deliver more effective diabetes care.
I'm happy to see that we have persons from SSDF who deal with the elderly, and that they could be here, because sometimes, there's a lot of persons who are at home with diabetes, they don't have anybody caring for them, but the fact that they're here to get that training and that information, they'll be able to care for our elderly persons better. We wouldn't see, there might be a little decrease in hospitalization rates, comorbidities and so forth. So I like it, but for me, it's a refresher. And some of the figures or some of the ranges, that I maybe take for granted, because maybe where I'm at, most of our clients are controlled.
This training will cover 5 modules with the aim of strengthening and standardizing the management of diabetes in primary healthcare settings in St. Lucia.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of St. Lucia Magazine. A heartfelt thank you to everyone who contributed to this production: the National Television Network, the GIS team, and the communication officers across various government ministries. Thank you for watching on NTN Channel 122 and for following on the official social media platforms of the Government of St. Lucia. I am Kishma Serie. Until next time, stay informed, Stay engaged as we continue tracking St. Lucia's progress.